What's up, A to Z Sports Live on this Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend and a big week coming up as the NFL heads to Indianapolis for the NFL Combine. And Adam Schefter had some interesting news this morning regarding what is going to be a big conversation at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis when it comes to the number one overall draft pick and what the Chicago Bears are now discussing as the entire league meets together. So let's get this week started off on a big, strong note. The number one draft pick is for sale. And should the Tennessee Titans be one of the teams calling the Chicago Bears about the number one overall draft pick? So we'll discuss that, the updated report, teams that could be interested in the number one overall pick as well. And then another rule proposal that went out with the NFL Competition Committee met about a roughing the passer penalty that is being asked to be a reviewable play, according to one team in the NFL. So, Zach, we're going to have a big show talking about the number one overall draft pick and a thing that really irked a lot of people over the last season before we get to our Monday Ask Me Anything type of topic. So welcome in. Hope you had a good weekend. I'll update my weekend adventure maybe later on in the show about what I said I was going to be doing on Friday. So welcome in. Let's get this thing off and running.
Yeah, there we go. We are broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We got you covered there. We'll tweet out segment by segment on our YouTube link to our Twitter handle at A to Z Sports. You can follow us there. That's a great follow. We've always got things locked and loaded there, whether it is breaking news from the NFL. We've got live streams going out on those links. So you can catch us segment by segment every morning at A to Z Sports on our Twitter handle. So give us a follow there and subscribe to our YouTube channel. A lot more people are watching on YouTube than ever. If you watch on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. If you are subscribed to our channel, I think we're at over 11,500 that have subscribed. We're trying to get to 15,000. So tell your friends to subscribe. If you've already subscribed, go ahead and like this video. Like the video that you're watching now on YouTube. That helps the algorithm. That gets more people involved. In the community grows, which means the chat grows, which means it's more entertaining for everybody. Also on Facebook, what's going on, Facebookers? Bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. Sharing is caring and caring is sharing. As we say on this show, share the show around so we pop up in your Facebook friends' news feed. More people are going to be rolling in over the next 5 to 10 minutes as we get started. So as people roll in, share the show. And we will get this party started on a Monday, still February, closing in on March, closing in on free agency, short month right around the corner. Here we go. Let's get this thing going on a Monday.
Let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us all over social media as we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter timeline, and hit us up on Instagram and TikTok for more Titans coverage. Also, got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process by going to see them in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. That means better coverage rates and service. Learn more about a health plan for you at fbhp.com/ATOZ. And Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers, the official injury lawyers of the Titans. If you've been injured in a car wreck, call them for a free case consultation at 800-800-4600. So, Zach, it's going to be a busy week because you and I have talked a lot about over the last week and a half, the NFL Combine that starts officially today for teams. Media really gets going Tuesday and Wednesday before drills start later in the week. But this is the NFL spring break, and this is when everybody gets together, and it's not like spring break where you're partying, but you are partying. But a lot of work gets done at the NFL Combine with in-person meetings, late-night meetings, watching players do drills and meeting with players. But it's also where a lot of business gets done right before the league new year begins March 15th. And so it's no shock to me that we saw the Titans make a lot of moves last week by freeing up a lot of cap space, just to kind of reset like what they did last week by cutting 4 guys to save $37.4 million to give themselves $12.4 million in cap space. So Rand Carthon can go down or up to Indy and have money to play with. And then it doesn't surprise me at all that this morning, as the NFL Combine officially gets going, that Adam Schefter tweets this. Sources: the Bears already have been approached by multiple teams about trading the draft's #1 overall pick, and Chicago is said to, quote, be leaning towards moving that pick. So the #1 pick looks like it's for sale. And Zach, this is why week 18 was so important with the Texans and the Bears having those outcomes, to where the #1 overall pick is held by the Chicago Bears, who drafted a quarterback recently and are not in the market for a quarterback, but that #1 overall pick is completely up for grabs.
Well, and it was also important week 18 that the Titans did not beat the Jacksonville Jaguars to even have this conversation.
That's
right. That I was screaming from the rooftop. They didn't need to win that game. They would have been picking 19th or 20th if they would have won that game. And then who would have known if they would have beaten the Chargers at home, as you know, the Jags beat the Chargers in that crazy game. But now the Titans have the 11th overall pick. Lots have changed since then, right? Around the league and within the Titans facility. Rand Carthon has been hired, and now he has a lot better draft placement throughout the course of his first draft, picking as essentially the leader of the football operations of the Tennessee Titans. So, he can pick up the phone if he wants to. A lot of people can pick up the phone if they want to and call the general manager of the Chicago Bears and say, look, we are willing to talk. This is maybe a deal that we put together, or just inquire to ask, what are you guys thinking? I think that is the big thing. In our pre-show conversation, Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter, is on there with Austin and I, and we're talking about, what should the topic be? And we're sitting there going through a bunch of different topics of, well, maybe we should talk about, the Bears and what the Titans would give up, or what any team would give up. And right now it is so difficult to really tell where the market is in the eyes of the Chicago Bears. They hold the keys to the draft. They hold the keys to Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson. I mean, how many rumors was being spread last week that Austin, he went from when the draft market, or the draft, essentially the betting markets opened for the draft, he opened at plus 10,000 and he's currently plus 750. So there's so much shakeup from then until now, and will be from now until the draft. And if they do decide to trade the #1 overall pick. So this is big news in the NFL, and we're still in February.
Yeah, Zach, I opened up a mock draft right before the show started on the Draft Network, and what it's got the Colts moving up to #1 for Anthony Richardson. So and that would be giving up a lot to the Chicago Bears.
Why did I throw $50 down on plus 10,000 for Anthony Richardson?
Yeah, again, we don't do live math on air, but that's a lot of money. So again, look, it's going to be crazy. It's lying season officially, as it's the week of the NFL Combine. That's where it all begins. But I think the interesting point about what we're going to talk about today is that let's just go back to this, right? Adam Schefter tweets this out. I believe it was right at 6 a.m. Central Time. Sources: the Bears have already been approached by multiple teams about trading the draft's #1 overall pick, and Chicago is said to be leaning towards moving the pick. So the #1 pick looks like it's for sale. And I've said this on our show a couple of times this offseason already, that if Ryan Poles, the Bears GM, does not trade that #1 overall pick, it's a complete failure of him as a general manager in the NFL. Like, there is no reason why the Bears should actually select #1 overall. They should move out of it regardless of what the price is. So, and that's the fascinating thing is, when was the last time, Zach, that the #1 overall pick got moved? Do you remember?
The last time the #1 overall pick got moved, the Titans.
John Robinson.
Man, that took. So what year was that?
2016.
Well, yeah, that's why it took me, 7 minutes to get to that, because there's a minute per pick. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the Titans the last time to do that. And so it's been a while. And so what was the price for that? The Titans got a pretty good penny there for that move. It was the King's ransom. So how has that number 1 overall pick, when it comes to inflation, how has the price changed over the last 7 years to see what that's worth?
Because the price changed in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
How much? Yeah. Well, again, we won't get into politics.
Well, again, the Titans got 2 first-round draft picks. They got 2 second-round draft picks and a handful of other picks down the road. So, it's going to be interesting to see how that works. And that was when the Rams moved from 5 up, or 15 up, to number 1. And, the Titans were great to get what they got for that. But now there's a bunch of teams within the top 10 and maybe a team at 11 that could be interested in moving all the way up, because number 2, the Houston Texans, are such a big deal sitting right there, because that's where you have to get ahead of.
Right. And they're going to have to give up a lot, but other teams that are further back are going to have to give up a lot for the Bears to take it. I think the first thing that we do have to establish, and you said that it would be a failure on Ryan Poles if he didn't trade this pick. They had to first figure out if they wanted to keep Justin Fields, right? So that was the first domino that had to happen.
Fair.
And I think that they've gotten to that point. But 15-1, doesn't it tell you that 11-1 can happen? If 15-1 could happen, however, 7+ years ago, then why does it say that 11-1 can't?
Yeah.
I don't think that it completely nixes that idea. Or if it's not 11-1, maybe it's 11-4, or, because the Cardinals are sitting there. They're right there at the top at 3.
Mm-hmm.
So 11-3, maybe even, because Arizona is not going to take a quarterback, because Kyler Murray is, still overpaid under contract, but he's also nursing an ACL that he's probably not going to be back till later part of next season. They're not going to draft a quarterback that high. They may draft another player, but you've got some movement at the top of this draft for the Tennessee Titans, the Raiders, the Falcons, the Panthers, the Colts. The list goes on and on of the movement coming up. This report is number 1.
Yeah.
And Austin, don't you think Ryan Poles got on the old cell phone this weekend and talked to Adam Schefter and said, look, this is the deal. Combine's around the corner. I'm just going to say we've received calls. Do what you do, Shefty. Do what you do. It's Monday morning at 7 a.m. And here we are, along with a lot of other people, talking about the topic that we're talking about.
Absolutely. So let's ask everybody this question, Zach. Should the Titans be one of the teams inquiring about the number 1 overall draft pick with the Bears? Should the Titans be one of the teams that is inquiring about the number 1 overall pick with the Bears? I think we're wording this question specifically, everybody. So again, just remember, here's how it's worded for a reason. Should the Titans be one of the teams inquiring about the number 1 overall pick from the Chicago Bears? We'll get to your answers here in a second. But first, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute. I had a great conversation with Lindsay over the Bone and Joint Institute on Friday afternoon. She's been our great contact with them for the last 3 years or so. And they do a phenomenal job with their services and what they've been able to do for the mid-state over the last couple of years with making health easier for you. Because before the Bone and Joint Institute, if you got hurt, you'd have to go find a doctor, and then you'd have to go get a test done in one location, then other imaging done in a different location. Then you might have to have surgery. And if you have to have surgery, you have to go to a completely other location. And then the rehab facility is a 5th location. Well, at the Bone and Joint Institute, you're all under one roof. Right there, you see it right there on the screen. It's in Franklin, Tennessee, right off of I-65 and Highway 96. A great spot to get to in a beautiful facility that it is state-of-the-art, and they can do everything right there. But if you like more convenience, they've got Brentwood, Nolensville, Thompson Station clinics to make it easier for you. In general, they're great at what they do. They've got the specialists who know how to fix any type of injury, and that state-of-the-art rehab facility right there. So whenever you get hurt in life, know where to go, boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports, we're powered by BetMGM. I had a pretty good weekend, up a few units over the weekend. I'm cruising. I'm feeling great. This was a successful college basketball weekend. Plus, I had Lakers +4, Kings -4 yesterday. So I sprinkled a little bit of NBA action in that bad boy. And man, it's great when you wake up Monday morning, excuse me, after a weekend. I'm getting choked up because I feel so damn good about my, last couple of days on the BetMGM app. You can feel good about that too for yourself at BetMGM. Download the app today. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports right there in the bonus code tab. That's BetMGM.
All right, Zach, over 100 comments have rolled in since we asked this question. So I'm going to send you to the chat here in a second. The question we are asking this morning: should the Titans be one of the teams inquiring about the number 1 overall draft pick with the Bears? Once again, here is the news from Adam Schefter from this Monday morning. The Bears have already been approached by multiple teams about trading the draft's number 1 overall pick, and Chicago is said to be leaning toward moving the pick. So the number 1 pick looks like it's officially for sale. So the question again, should the Titans be one of those teams inquiring about the number 1 overall draft pick? Zach, what's everybody saying there on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch?
Well, we start with the question. Pistol Ramsey says, we don't need to move up. I don't think so. So, Pistol is kind of questioning right out of the gates. We do have a lot of NOs. Michael says no. Big G says no. Jay says no. This is straight from the Titans fan base. This is why we do the show, is to get a good gauge on what it represents and kind of the temperature of things. It's a good litmus test to see what you guys are thinking. Kevin says no. Lane says no. Nick says no. Roy says no. Jonathan says no. It would cost way too much. Demario says no, no, no. Hell no from Ed. Richter says no. Brian says no. Danny says no. Jameson comes in there and says inquiring, of course, pulling the trigger. So I do think we've got some people maybe not particularly reading the question. Maybe they're answering it. Maybe they did read it, but we've got a lot of no. Steven says inquiring, absolutely. Nick says no. Lee says no. Absolutely 100% yes from Jake. Steven says yes. MB says hell no. Deborah says no. Nate's Burner says yes, inquire. Tannehill is done. I'll speak more on that from Nate's Burner account here in a second. Honky Tonk says hell no. Ken says yes. Trade down from Jonathan. Don't trade up. Jason says no. Tiffany says yes, absolutely. Yes, you have to have those conversations, no doubt, from Dylon. Ronnie says no. Alex says no. Hell yeah from Jebu. I mean, we're on a Monday morning. We got a lot of comments. It's just the tip of the iceberg. Darius says yes. Yes, please from Juggy. Inquire is free. Yes, from Alejandro. So, I mean, so many, conflicting. I think we started out of the gate saying no, 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 no. And then we've got some more yeses. Yes, please. I mean, I think I'm surprised a little bit, but I don't know. Austin, where are you on this answer? Do you think that the Tennessee Titans should inquire about the number 1 overall draft pick?
So I'm with our guy Dom, and I also subscribe to one of John Robinson's philosophy. Dom says you have to inquire, and one of John Robinson's philosophies was, go find out. Go on a fact-finding mission. That's what I'm about. So yes, the Titans should absolutely inquire about what that cost might be to get from 11 to 1. Should they do it? No, but they should at least know what it costs and maybe know what the Texans or the Colts might have to give up to get there anyway. And so because of where the Texans and Colts are in this situation, the Texans being at number 2, the Colts being at number 4, both desperate for a quarterback situation to be fixed. The Titans have the, coin toss of a situation as well at quarterback. I definitely think the Titans should inquire about number 1, because if they don't get number 1, and if the Titans really do like one of these top quarterbacks in the draft, then maybe what if the situation arises where the Colts don't do it? Maybe it's like the Panthers trade up from their spot in the top 10 above the Texans to get one of the quarterbacks. The Texans take the other. So now Stroud and Young are off, but now you still have Richardson and Levis. Maybe the Titans and Rand Carthon like Richardson or Levis, and the Colts do too. So now the Titans need to at least know what number 3 is going to cost or what that could look like to make that move. So yeah, the Titans absolutely need to call to inquire what this situation might look like, but that doesn't mean they should make their mind up about it. I mean, and again, like I said, Anthony Richardson, maybe the Titans like him. I don't think Anthony Richardson or Will Levis would be a smart pick in the top 10 for the Titans or at 11 for the Titans. But still, I don't know what Ran Carthon knows, and I don't know how he feels and how Mike Vrabel feels about any of these quarterbacks that are getting a lot of top 10 talk, which is now 4. And so, yeah, you should absolutely inquire to find out what it's going to cost.
And Andre says number 1 would cost Jeff, talking about Jeffrey Simmons possibly. Bears want top 2 defensive guy. And the Titans have got to seriously think, what are they going to do with Jeffrey Simmons? He will probably be, and Aaron Donald is out there, and we all know what he is being paid, but he will be close to Aaron Donald. And that is a lot of money that you are paying towards a defensive tackle. Now, he is a premier defensive tackle, don't get me wrong, but I think you have to, and I agree with you, Austin, you have to call and inquire about what's going on.
Yeah.
So let's say you're going with your wife, girlfriend, whoever you want on a date. Friday night, you're going to a nice restaurant. You call and say, hey, how long is the wait? Well, the wait is an hour and a half. You still may go to that restaurant and inquire and see, is it really an hour and a half? Maybe you slip the hostess a $30 bucks or $50 or $100. Now all of a sudden you're all the way at the top. Or it may have ballooned to 2 hours. Then you go to another restaurant. Like, you've got to go and find out. And I think you bring up the point that I was going to bring up, which is if you don't get number 1, you could get and trade with Arizona at number 3. If somehow weirdly quarterbacks fall and your guy that you value drops to number 5, the Seattle Seahawks may have already signed Geno Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, well, all of a sudden you're at 6. The Detroit Lions may still stick with Jared Goff after his performance towards the end of the last season. So you've got multiple picks at 1, at 3, at 5, at 6 that you need to know where the market is and where the landscape is, and you got to start at the top. So absolutely, if I'm Ran Carthon, I pick up the phone. I honestly ask Poles out to a nice seafood dinner at the Combine. Say, hey, let's go to Elmo's. Let's go get a big steak. Let's do whatever we need to do to get on the same page. This is networking central for Ran. Ran the man better be running around, and we ought to say that he ran around the Combine after the Combine of however many contacts and general managers that he spoke to. This is networking, baby. This is, this is the best. You go there and you start to talk. And the Titans are at a flux. And what did we talk about last week? All of the moves that occurred with the cut and the roster slash of Zach Cunningham, of Taylor Lewan, of Robert Woods. You're below the cap, baby. You're sitting here trying to figure out where you are. And Austin, you may just go to a different restaurant, or the one restaurant that you always thought you were going to go to on Friday night, the oldie but the goodie at the 11th overall pick, right? And so you have to inquire. Everybody's saying no. You're cutting off your knees despite your feet. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because it doesn't hurt to ask, right? Like the worst thing you're going to get is no, right? That's the whole thing too, is like if a no or if the price is too high is the worst case scenario, then you didn't lose anything.
And you need a quarterback. The fact of the matter is that Ryan Tannehill is not going to cut it. Now, Ran Carthon's got to make the decision. Can Ryan Tannehill cut it for one more season? Are you willing to go to war with Ryan Tannehill for the last year of his deal because you want to kind of save another year before you officially get started in your general manager job as the Tennessee Titans and buy yourself a year?
Yeah.
I don't think that is out of the question. But if you want to start now, look, there's different trains of thought. Save a year on your general manager career or get started earlier and draft your franchise quarterback and start competing with Burrow, Mahomes, and Allen.
Yeah. So Matt on Facebook brings up an interesting comment, and I think I like where Matt's head's at with this because of the situation the Titans are in. So I'll read Matt's comment here in a second, more about should the Titans be calling the Bears about the number 1 overall draft pick after Adam Schefter has basically said and reported this morning that the Bears are selling, or it is for sale at number 1 overall. So I'll get to Matt's comment on Facebook here in a second, but Zach, tell everybody about Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com is where to go to get your new health plan. I got my new health plan in 2022. I carried it over in 2023. And man, am I glad that I did. Plan on them for health, dental, and vision. 200 plus locations across the state of Tennessee. Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee. If you're in the state, you really need to seriously inquire. You talk about inquiring about the number 1 draft pick. You need to inquire about Farm Bureau Health Plans. They can help you out and save you money. They saved me 20% on my health plan last year because I switched. And on top of that, I got a better plan. That's the best part. Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee is where you need to go. Visit fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Also, I'm Zach. I'm glad to hear that you had a great weekend with BetMGM. I had a good weekend. It wasn't great. It was good though. It was a net 2 units positive. So it wasn't like you might have where you were.
I was a net 5.5 units.
That's good.
And my unit count is pretty high.
But hey, as long as I'm net positive 1 unit on a weekend, then I'll take that all day. But I got that yesterday with my college basketball parlay on BetMGM. And you guys can share the love as well with the BetMGM app. If you've already signed up with the BetMGM app, you can win big with the Refer a Friend invitation. How you do that is you get $50 in bonus bets for every friend who signs up with your invitation. They get $50 in bonus bets too by signing up with your invitation. And you can invite up to 20 friends. That's up to, math on air, $1,000 in bonus bets for you, just sharing the love with the BetMGM apps Refer a Friend invitation. So go check that out today on your BetMGM app. So Zach, back to the topic at hand. We've got the Bears who are going to look to sell the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft with Adam Schefter's report this morning. And I did want to get to Matt's comment because we asked the question, should the Titans inquire about the number 1 overall pick and what it would cost with the Bears? And Matt brings this up. He says, why bother? Ran Carthon's a first-year GM. He's got bigger things to worry about than calling about an absurd deal for the number 1 overall pick. And I don't disagree with Matt. Ran Carthon's got a long list of things that he's got to get right. He started that process by cutting the 4 veterans to save a bunch of money last week. I'm sure there's going to be more cuts and more big decisions on the current roster to follow. But John Robinson took over as GM, and that he was the last person to trade away the number 1 overall pick. And when he took over, the team was terrible. They had won 5 out of the previous 32 games under Whisenhunt there. And then they had a complete reset and they had the number 1 overall pick. And so John Robinson thought, trade out of it and go get a lot of other picks to help you fix a lot of the other problems. Now, the Titans, just like the Bears, were coming off a year where they had a second-year highly drafted quarterback and they wanted to commit there. And so that's why the Titans were able to do that. So Ran Carthon has a quarterback question with Tannehill's contract situation, but a lot of other things. So how does Ran Carthon view the importance of going for it all in his first draft versus trying to make sure you can fix as many holes as possible before you do the overall remodel?
And Matt needs to go to Blockbuster and rent the Butterfly Effect, because if he calls, Ran Carthon calls Ryan Poles about the number 1 overall pick, maybe he doesn't trade. Maybe he gets some more information. But Matt, maybe later on in the draft, because the Bears have a pick above the Titans, maybe that conversation spurs another conversation for the Titans to get a better player in the later rounds because he called to have that conversation. You don't know when you're going to meet your wife. You may just randomly go into a coffee shop one day, right? But if you didn't go into that coffee shop, you never know, right? So you don't know until you actually do it. And that's why I don't think no is an answer.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
I do think I want to bring this comment up because I think Charles brings up something that to take a closer look at. I think he brings up a very good point. Charles says, how many teams need a quarterback this year versus next year? Maybe better to draft a quarterback next year.
Yeah.
Now, Charles brings up this point. If you just look through the NFL and you look at the top teams, Houston needs a quarterback, Indianapolis needs a quarterback, Las Vegas needs a quarterback, Atlanta needs a quarterback, Carolina needs a quarterback, and Tennessee needs a quarterback. The Jets also need a quarterback. So that's the top. Go ahead.
That's 7 out of 13, right?
Yes,
7 out of
13.
12 because the Texans picked twice. So 7 out of the 12 teams who have the highest picks need quarterbacks.
So there will be 4 quarterbacks taken, right? I mean, these are I don't know where, but 4 quarterbacks will probably be taken in the first round. So 7 minus 4, now math on air, we're at 3. Plus there will be some free agent movement because if Aaron Rodgers goes somewhere else, Jordan Love fills a slot, and now one of those teams, now we're down to 2. So we're doing good math. Here's the other.
Carr is there. Yeah.
Now we're down to 1. Here's the other X factor on top of that. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, all of the old hats have exited. There are no more old hats. The last old hat is Aaron Rodgers, and he probably plans to play a couple more years based on his 4 days of darkness. We don't know. It may be 4 days of darkness. It may be 4 years of darkness. We don't know. But that's kind of the last old elite quarterback. Now, there's been a resurgence of new young bloods. Jalen Hurts has entered the chat, right? But also, Austin, I haven't mentioned one more guy. What about old Jimmy G? Jimmy G's going to be on the move too. So that fills a lot of the slots. And that's why Charles is getting the love of the show because we needed to go through this exercise. Charles brings up, maybe it's not smart. That's not the question. The question was, should the Titans inquire about the number 1 overall pick? Should the Titans draft a quarterback in the first round? Now we got to talk about a different topic. But Charles does bring that up because there's a lot of quarterback needy teams this year. There will always be quarterback needy teams, but there's a lot of quarterbacks to fill those slots this year.
Yeah, but I also think that there's always going to be teams next offseason that needs a quarterback that you don't identify that needs a quarterback next year now. Right?
Absolutely.
But like this time
is unique.
Right, but this time a year ago, the Raiders just traded for Devontae Adams, and you didn't expect the Raiders to need a quarterback because they were moving on from Derek Carr a year after the fact, right? So there's going to be other situations that arise along those lines. So, you can't just bank on next year's class if you like somebody here. But, you can do the math. I think Charles brings up, just do the math. You can project, give or take, probably 3 teams. But yeah. I think if you project 3 teams, you're still going to be less than 7. Yeah,
you are. I mean, you're going to, because the young quarterbacks will not be ditched after 1 year. There's too many young quarterbacks. There's too many teams that have established that they are going with young quarterbacks, and young quarterbacks get a little bit longer leash if they're that young. So I'm kind of with Charles. Maybe you punt, right? And you play for field position another year. And what does that also do? It buys Rand Carthon another year. And the Dame time hasn't started.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I end up siding. Like, yes, Rand Carthon absolutely should inquire with the Bears to see what the pick might cost and to also do as much information and gathering around that as possible. Because you brought up about the potential to create a relationship with polls, because you might need that call later on in the draft, because as the Bears have the number 1 overall pick, they're going to always pick right ahead of the Texans and the Colts for 7 straight rounds, right? So the Titans might have a guy they want on day 2 or day 3, and you want to jump up ahead of your division rivals to go get that guy. It might make a lot of sense to have that relationship open.
Here's one thing I want to bring up. Ramon says yes, but the two teams out of the Titans division, Zach. And Ramon, you brought that up, and Austin just commented on that in the draft. This is a huge decision for the Tennessee Titans because they've got 2026 on the horizon. And what does 2026 represent? That means a brand new house. They're building a brand new house, and they want to invite everybody over, and they want to have, they want to stock the bar, and that they want to stock the bar with high-class liquor. They don't want any of that Skull vodka. They want Kettle One. And to invite people over, you want nice things. You want nice things in your bar. You want nice things in your living room. You're going to have a nice quarterback. You also are competing with the Colts, the Texans, who are figuring out their quarterback situation this year. Wouldn't you agree?
Mm-hmm.
And you've got the Jacksonville Jaguars that are building momentum with their number 1 overall pick, Trevor Lawrence, that grew up quite a bit in the last 7 games of the season.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Pistol Randy says Zach has the best examples. I feel like did you like lose a bet with a buddy or something of how many analogies you're supposed to make throughout the show on Monday? Because I think that was the third, was the new house, and you got to have the top shelf liquor.
Well, they are building a new house.
They are, but your analogies have been on point and deep throughout this morning's show. So again, like, I do think it's interesting. Do we really think the Titans are one of the teams that have reached out? Because again, approached by multiple teams is what Adam Schefter is reporting. Do we think the Titans are one of them? Who knows? Because we don't know how Rand operates and how he talks. So we'll kind of see what happens here, because there's a lot. I think there's 5 obvious ones that make too much sense to not call it. Houston, Indianapolis, Vegas, Atlanta, and Carolina, who all pick in the top 9, who have a much easier jump to get up to number 1 than what the Titans do at 11.
And how far are the Bears willing to jump back?
And that's I don't want to open another can of worms here, but that's where I do feel like the Jeffrey Simmons aspect of that's the way the Titans get up to 1, is including Jeffrey Simmons, because the Bears don't want to fall back too far to lose out on one of those freaks on the defensive side of the ball.
For me, if Aaron Rodgers or Bryce Young, think about that, right? Because you're going to have to give up a lot more to get Bryce Young. Would you agree?
Than Aaron Rodgers?
Yes.
You're giving up different things, though.
No, I didn't say what you were giving up. You're giving up a lot more. I think that the value of what you're giving up to get Bryce Young is a lot more than what you would have to give up to get Aaron Rodgers.
Because you're saying Jeff is involved in the Bryce Young acquisition.
Jeff and future picks this year, and future picks, and multiple picks, and picks in other rounds. Because the Bears, look, they're trying to rake you over the coals, man. Like, they got to get as much as they possibly can. The Bears' mentality and mindset is, we never want to be in this position again.
Yeah.
Is this the first time the Bears have ever picked number 1 overall?
No, it's the first time in a long time.
Let's see here.
They've done it. I saw a stat on it. It's been like the 60s or 70s or something like that when the Bears picked number 1. Long time. You got it?
This is saying so long ago, I don't even want to say that. List of here. Now I'll confirm it. Let's see. Up 1947.
So, 2 decades before I thought, but so it's been a bit. So the Bears have avoided it for a while.
Bob Finnemore. Oh, Bob Finnemore, the halfback out of Oklahoma
We might need
State.
that. We might need that for a Tuesday down the road. So 1947, Bob Finnemore was the number one overall pick.
The late Bob Finnemore. He passed away in 2010 at the age of 84. He lived a long life. But 1947, round one, pick one. The Bears are a storied franchise. They have not been great. Let's just be honest, right? They haven't been great in the last couple of decades. But they are a storied franchise and a big market that always get primetime games. They're not the Jags and the Lions and those type of teams that you traditionally find picking number one overall.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that they've got to think about that this is the last time that they're going to pick number one. You're going to have to give up. But let's have that conversation. Aaron Rodgers or Bryce Young. You don't even have to put Bryce Young on there. It's Aaron Rodgers, the number one overall draft pick. You can pick whoever you want. That, I think, is a good conversation maybe later this week.
Yeah, let's save that for maybe tomorrow, because I do think that would be interesting to have tomorrow. Of like, what would be the best?
What would you want? It's a personal question.
Yeah. So let's do that tomorrow. So what would be the better trade, Aaron Rodgers or up to number one overall for Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, whoever you think that quarterback is?
Well, Jay's, you also have Stetson lurking in the background in the darkness.
And you know what, Jay? I've had an opinion about Stetson Bennett for a long time about this draft, and maybe that can be the second topic to the Bryce Young, Aaron Rodgers lead tomorrow. So maybe we just plan tomorrow's show, which is great if we can do that on.
Because I would love to talk about Stetson Bennett, especially early on, right?
Okay,
we're going to talk about him later.
All right, so we've got that. Tomorrow we'll ask the Bryce Young, Aaron Rodgers question, and then my strategy on what Stetson Bennett could be in this draft, and a draft comp to Stetson Bennett.
I have a good draft comp. No, I have a bad draft comp. You don't want Stetson to be this. I'll have to think of a good one.
Yeah, this is like a best case scenario Stetson Bennett comp. But anyway, we'll
get to that. I've got another one, so that's good.
I like that. We're just planning tomorrow's show live.
Now we just got to wait for the news cycle, and hopefully not a curveball throws later on in this day saying Rand Carthon is cut Bud Dupree or something random.
Yeah, speaking of Bud Dupree, he's out there sacking Tua Tagovailoa.
That's actually Jacoby Brissett, but it's close. You couldn't see his number.
No, I couldn't. But anyway, let's get to this conversation, because a rule proposal that was floated out there by one NFL team. Here it is. That one NFL team has proposed making roughing the passer reviewable by instant replay. The competition committee expects to review that proposal today on Monday. That tweet was from yesterday. So let's ask this question, everybody. Are you for or against roughing the passer being reviewable? I find this interesting. For or against roughing the passer being reviewable down the road. But first, let me tell you guys about Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers, the official injury lawyers of the Titans. And if you have get injured in a car wreck, call Hughes and Coleman for a free case consultation. 800-800-4600 is where to go. They've recovered over $1 billion for their clients across the state of Tennessee and in Kentucky, and can help you out as well. So check them out. If you've been injured in a car wreck, call Hughes and Coleman for a free case consultation. Once again, 800-800-4600, principal office, Nashville, Tennessee.
A to Z Sports. We're powered by BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app today in your Apple or Android store. After the show, pick up your phone, go to the App Store, type in BetMGM and download that app. Then when you sign up, use the bonus code ATOZSPORTS, all one word, no spaces. That's the promo code, or that's the bonus code, excuse me. And you can get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. That is clutch right there. That is clutch. You can bet on anything. You got March Madness around the corner. You got college basketball. You got NBA. You got whatever. That is what you need to do. But use that bonus code ATOZ Sports. That's BetMGM.
All right. So the question we're asking here, after this tweet yesterday on a Sunday, one NFL team has proposed making roughing the passer reviewable by instant replay. The competition committee expects to review that proposal Monday, which is today. So we ask, are you for or against roughing the passer being reviewable? This is interesting, right? Because Zach, I'm going to go back to the very top. I think it was our guy Devin on Facebook had that first answer where he just said yes in all caps. Ed says yes. Rob says 4, or Clayton says 4. So you 4 against. Daff says 4. DeMarco's 4. Andre 4. Ramon 4. Dylan 4. Jeff Roberts 4. 4. I mean, Jonathan says all penalties should be reviewable. We can't have
They
fight
tried
football
that.
games.
You got to remember Saints Rams, the year that Jared Goff went to the Super Bowl for the Rams and lost to the Patriots. That NFC Championship game, they tried that.
Yeah.
And then they retracted it. It lasted 1 year.
Yeah. And so we're getting a lot of 4s. And Steven says, no, already QB league. Let's not whine over them more. So I think, Steven, here's what we're talking about is that if a flag is thrown for roughing the passer, that penalty is able to be reviewed and reversed. If they're talking about the other way around, where if a flag is not thrown and the booth can say, hold on, we need to look at that for roughing the passer, I think that would be a nightmare.
I agree.
I think
the rule sucks.
Yes.
If you look at the black and white rule in the rule book of head to the face, I mean, if you get anything to the graze, weight on the quarterback. Look, I had 3 examples. We talked this morning. You're like the three examples that popped into my mind immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady and Grady Jarrett, and you saw that up there on the graphic, that ultimately won the Bucs the game. So I wasn't that complaining. I was watching that game, and I was like, wow, the Bucs stole one. And then Tom Brady got fined for tripping Grady Jarrett after that, which was kind of funny. I also remember that came to my mind was Jalen Phillips from the Dolphins on Herbert. You remember that? That was ridiculous.
Yep.
And then early in the season on Monday night in Kansas City, Derek Carr against Chris Jones. Chris Jones got a flag and extended the drive.
Yep.
So those 3 immediately just boom. I was like, those are bad calls.
Yeah. So Mark Mask, who tweeted this out, replied to that tweet yesterday and said the competition committee looked at roughly 80 plays today involving roughing the passer calls and non-calls, finding only 3 to be officiated in questionable fashion. The committee still does not seem.
Were those the 3?
I don't know. He didn't list out the 3, but he said only 3 of the roughly 80 to be questionable in and how it was called, calls or non-calls.
Tart had one.
Yeah, I mean, there are several that the Titans fans can point out. Like Big Jeff's had a couple really weak calls. One was against Philly and Jalen Hurts that was really awful. I think that might have been Bud Dupree against Jalen Hurts in that earlier in that game when it was somewhat close. But there's always. But I think if it's not called, because I think I would be for this if it's to protect defensive players. Seriously. I think that, but I think that is where the problem is that defensive players are in a bad spot where they try their damnedest to not fall on the quarterback or to roll off or whatever. And they just can't. They're bigger players. They're moving at a high rate of speed and it's bang, bang. Is the ball out? Is it not? So I think it needs to benefit defensive players more than benefit. I'm not trying to benefit the quarterback here. I'm trying to, if it's called on the defender, can it be reviewed to say, no, that wasn't a big deal. That's not worth 15 yards in a free set of downs to bail out the offense.
So what's your answer?
For it, if it's about that, if it's reviewing the actual penalty that was called, not for it. If it's trying
we're on the same page. They're not going to do that. So you're for it. Here's why I'm against it. Because it would just piss me off even more that they're going to review a slap in the face or a graze and confirm that the rule is bad. I don't think that they would overturn a lot of these calls, and it would also hold up the game even longer. So I'm actually against it because I don't think that the NFL is going to change, and their philosophy or theory is player safety. And they're just going to fall back on player safety. They don't want to protect the defensive player. The defensive player is the aggressor. They want to protect the star quarterback. And Austin, I want to protect the star quarterback. As a fan, I don't want to see Thompson in a Miami Dolphins jersey in a playoff game. I don't want to see Matt McGloin. I don't want to see Joshua Dobbs in a win and get in situation at the end of the game. And I'm just talking about injured quarterbacks in general. So that is the justification of I am against this. I think that the NFL is going to continue to do what they're going to do, and to highlight how bad the rule is not going to do them any good. It's not going to do anybody any good. It's just going to irritate NFL fans. So that's why I'm against it. I'm going with theory of business instead of like personal preference.
No, I get that. I definitely get that. All right, A to Z Sports here live on this Monday. I think we've already got Tuesday's show set up to be pretty interesting with that conversation about which trade would be better for the Titans, trading for Aaron Rodgers or trading up for the #1 overall draft pick to get a quarterback like Bryce Young in this draft. So we'll discuss that tomorrow on Tuesday morning, but let's wrap up this.
Well, here, real quick, Ken brings this up at the very end. The problem is, do you agree with this? All quarterbacks aren't protected the same.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely the case.
So I didn't want to get out of that conversation because I think Ken brought that up, and I'm like, but that's always going to be the case, right?
Always.
That's a pill that we've got to swallow.
Not across every sport, across life, outside of sports, not everything is officiated fairly.
Preferential treatment.
Yep, no doubt. A to Z Sports Live here on this Monday. Zach, let's wrap up our Monday show with a Ask Me Anything topic. But first, tell us about Wilson County Hyundai.
Yeah, Wilson County Hyundai is where you need to get your next ride. That is Wilson County Hyundai. Your perfect make and model is right around the corner. Quick trip down I-40 exit 236. The Palisade, full-size SUV, third row seating, everything that you want. Your family car. It's your new family van. Trade in your mama's minivan and get a brand new Palisade. The people in the carpool line will be like, wow, upgrade. I like that Palisade. You can test drive one today at Wilson County Hyundai. If you don't need a full-size SUV, they've got smaller SUVs like the Tucson or the Santa Fe. They've got the Sonata, which is a four-door sedan that I absolutely love. They've got battery-powered vehicles. Go look at their inventory today at wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
Don't forget, with the BetMGM app, if you've already signed up with BetMGM with our code ATOZ Sports, that gives you bonus bets back up to $1,000 if your first bet loses. But you also get to share the love with the Refer a Friend invitation. So you sign up with your BetMGM app, log in, go to your Refer a Friend invitation. You can send that out to up to 20 friends where you get $50 in bonus bets for each friend that signs up. That's up to $1,000 in bonus bets for you. They get $50 in bonus bets as well with the Refer a Friend invitation with the BetMGM app. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. Since the only new customer offer. All promotions, subject to qualification, eligible requirements. Warriors issued knowledgeable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire in 7 days. And for Palm Game Sport, call Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789. Zach, it's Monday. Ask us anything. What we got?
We're going to rehash a question that you had brought up about a month ago about you driving a race car.
Yes.
And one of those questions we said, have you ever driven over 100 miles per hour? Surprisingly, I think we had 7 to 12 people say no, that they hadn't. 13, including you. A lot of people said they had.
Yeah.
Here, I think this is going to be telling. Do you know how to drive a stick shift? Now I feel like we're going to get a lot of no's because we're in 2023. We got young, we got old, we've got, any gender, doesn't matter. Do you know how to drive a stick shift in the chat? I am very curious to get these answers. All right. Do you know how to drive a stick shift?
So here we go. We got our first wave of answers. Dylan says yes. Titans Kyle says yes. Johnny says hell yes. Ronnie says absolutely.
Wow.
Roy says yes. Desi Nate says yes. Pistol Randy says hell no. Jeff says hell no, I don't. Nick says he just got up to 105 a few weeks ago and thought of me while he was going 105. Thanks, Nick. I'm glad I'm on your mind. Blake says yes. Robert Dingman says no. Jonathan says yes. Matt says yes. Dad made me learn on one. Karen says nope. David, yes. Let's see. No, sir, from Xavier. Yes, from Chris. Rockstars is a yes. Poppin' Gears from Orlando is a yes. MB says yes. Dustin's a yes. That's how he learned. I am shocked that
I am too.
There's as many yeses as because I'm a no. I'm a no. Never had to. I've never been in a situation where I've had to learn how to drive stick until now when I get to go drive a race car on a real race car track by myself where they will let me go faster if I know how to drive a stick. So I need to learn, but yeah, I mean, I've never had a situation where I've also never my family's never had a stick. No one around my extended families had a
Did
car
you
with a
know
stick shift.
anybody in high school that drove a stick?
High school, no. College, yeah. Because college, you always know a couple people who's got the Jeep, right? You always get the Jeep guy in college, and you never let him drive after the morning after a night out where you're hungover, and he's just you're in the Jeep and you're just throwing up. But yeah, a couple Jeep dudes in college, but outside of that, no. No friends in high school, no family members who had a stick shift. So no, I never did.
I do know how to drive a stick. I was taught, man, probably when I was 10 years old on a tractor, not even a car, but my family has a ranch in Texas. So you got to move hay. And so the only way to move hay, and that's my responsibility when I was a kid, you got to drive the tractor, and the tractor is a stick shift on the floor. But and you talk about jumping, when you're 10 years old and you're on the clutch, you're not very good. And so that transitioned, I no pun intended, that transitions into what, a regular car is. It's not that much different. Now, here's what I would say. Am I good at driving a stick shift? No. But could I get from point A? I've had to get from point A to point B on a stick shift, I don't know, a few years ago. And I was able to do that. Is it scary? You don't want to stall out on a red light and have everybody be like, what's going on? Yes. But the answer would be yes.
Yeah. I have driven a tractor with a stick shift now that I think about it.
Okay.
But I didn't think that counted. But that was 20 years ago. I don't remember. I've lost all of that, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, I did it pretty consistently. Like when I go back there every year, you got to drive the tractor, move the tractor.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Well, that'll do it for today's Monday show. We'll see what the news cycle holds for us tomorrow, if we've got our topic already or if something happens that makes us adapt. But make sure that you like the show before you go. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, give us that thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up button. We greatly appreciate that. And subscribe to us on YouTube. Like our page on Facebook and make sure you're following us there and all over. And we'll have great content throughout the morning. A2Zsports.com/Nashville for more written content all over the socials as well. And we'll talk to you guys tomorrow morning on a Tuesday. Buck Rising also live tonight, A2Z Sports Primetime at 8. We'll see you guys later on. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.